Hey YouTube, this is I-88 here. I am going to demonstrate today and do a version 2 of the convert the cube case into, well, a more flexible version. As you know, just recently, I think a few months ago, a software hack was released for the cube that allowed it not to update the chip. Now the chip we talk about on the cube proprietary case is this little chip right there. And yes, basically every time that you print, the system neatly keeps track of how many times that you've printed and how much material is left till you get down to 0. Then it's completely spent. You know, I was thinking, oh, I'll get my oscilloscope out and I'll trace the waveforms on boot sequence and everything else in the chip. And although you might be able to imitate the pattern or whatever else, or intercept an update, you know, I found out it was encrypted with AES 128, so what a waste of time. But luckily enough, like I said, someone broke the firmware, cracked the firmware to be able to stop this, you know, end-of-life unsupported printer that absolutely prints beautifully in many instances. So anyway, the first version was one that I did here. It works out very well. You know, I even here I painted the pattern of the chip as I built a little bitty, which I'll show you later, to actually be able to move the chip around. And I'm going to also attempt to try that today too. Also, today I'm taking this ABS, which I think the Cube ABS is a proprietary blend of ABS that prints at a lower temperature than a regular ABS, but I don't know that for sure. I'm not able to see the temperature outputs or anything else on the printer because of its proprietary nature. However, I did get, you know, some, I won't say cheap, but I got some filament here from Micro Center. This is just the plain blue PETG, which I'm going to try to print with the ABS setting on the back of the chip. And basically, for a long story short, you get basically two choices. You get the PLA or you get the ABS. With the Cube 3 here. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is keep the parts of the case that I really think are useful. Okay, now before I cut this a little thin around here to where the lock tabs, you know, maybe didn't grab as much. You know, they really built these cases with that kind of stuff in mind, and I really believe that they knew that people would try this eventually. So they really built this stuff not to be able to be modified very well. And so this is one of those things where I don't get my scientific instruments out, my caliper or anything else. This is kind of a freehand. But anyway, I'm getting that first lock tab on this side, and I'm going to come in, you know, it's some kind of a round angle. And we're going to go around here to where the receiver goes. Okay? Follow the natural lines of the case and its hard points. All right, and then over here, you know, it doesn't even have one till all the way over here from over to here. So I'll do just what I did on the other one. You know, we'll go back a safe measure. We'll come in on around like this. You know, the main thing I'm going to change here on this one, and this part, of course, I mean, you could probably get something out that's similar diameter, but this is really just a freehand thing. Okay, just to get us around there, around the arc. Okay. Now the thing that I am going to change about this one, as you can see, the chip is deployed right about here. I'm going to go ahead and come into the case all the way to the point of here. So right around in this area here, I'm going to trim this whole thing up on this one. You know, whatever seems to be the logical point there. There we go. And so that'll be my case pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and take this around to the other side, because as you can see, I just basically made a stereo copy of the front side, which I'll also freehand here. You know, just come around, and you can see this inner ring that you can see the impression on the other side of the plastic is what I'm basically using as a frame of reference. You know, you want to get that chip. You want to be, of course, you know, of the chip. Now we will be removing that chip, but I will tell you, I'm probably going to possibly try with a heat sink gun this time. I mean, you can dig it out carefully, but if you crack that chip, it is over. It is absolutely over. So here we go. Just going to trace around here like this. You know, the music supplied by me. Okay, so there we go. So now we have our basic pattern. Now, you know, sometimes when you're doing this stuff for the first time, you know, you're a little bit nervous. Well, what you do is you go in a weak point, and I would start right here because this is where there are no clips. And you go around piece by piece like this, and you get it. And when you get it all the way freed to where it just isn't coming out of the middle, this is going to pop out of the middle. You just have to be a little bit more forceful. There we go. Okay, so now we've got that. Now we've got this nice inner design here. At first I thought, you know, of all the cartridges I bought, of the 5, 3 failed me. You know, the plastic cracks somewhere up into the neck of this guide. And when it does, it just won't feed. And so you lose a whole spool. So this was a miracle. Like this black one that I'm using over here is PLA. And it, you know, it broke in 3 places, actually. And I was just able to get it running again. And I thought, you know, the rays of heaven shine down upon me. I mean, it was really wonderful to see, to get your money back, because these are relatively expensive for what they were. You know, they're $40, $50, just depending. All right, and so the next thing you want to do is you want to remove the reel here inside. So this should come off pretty easily. Yeah, and for what we're doing here, we're going to be removing this from the case too. So let me go get my Allen wrenches here and take that off, and then we'll take out the internals. So 2 screws are firm to the gearbox that actually drives the filament, and 2 are not. And the smaller one is the one that actually holds the thing into the case. So very easy to take this thing out. Just undo these. These also are part of the gearbox fasteners, which actually hold the gearbox together. And there are 4 of them, as you see, 2 of them to remove it out of here. That's great. There we go. You're asking me what size? Well, I'm not a young man. I'm not an old man. I'm in the middle somewhere. My eyes aren't quite as good as they used to be. Put that in the description. Maybe I won't. Who knows? All right. So anyway, as you can see, the case comes out. That was weird. Aren't those supposed to be tight in there? Oh, yes, of course. Wrong ones. All right, so here we go. Anyway, just as a demo, here's the nice little gearbox. And again, this is the ABS filament. And the gearbox is marked ABS PLA. And, you know, this is really a mysterious device. This is a, this is a drivetrain that goes in here. And it turns a gear with serrated teeth on it that actually grabs the filament. So it can go up and down, and it has a roller or passive, just an idler wheel over off the other side of it to keep it in guide. So it doesn't have teeth on both sides, and it's a single gear drive. It's not really that interesting. There's no real reason to crack this open, so I'm just going to set it down over to the side. And again, here we go with the cube case. Now, one of the things that we want to keep in mind is this is the front of the case. As you can see, with this, we might be able to come in here really close. We might be able to do that, but that would require a little bit of extra stuff. These are very natural, organic curves, and so they'll be easy to do, and they'll be easy to file down to give it a little bit of a nice finish, so it doesn't cut you or whatever. So anyway, here we go. We're going to go on to part 2. As far as the chip is concerned, I think maybe, I don't know if I'm going to take this thing out before I do. I'm not sure exactly. You can see it. You can see it in there inside of the plastic. Maybe we will. Maybe I'll touch it with a heat shrink gun, and maybe I can lift it out. Let's give that a try. Normally, like I said, I just take it out. It's glued in with either a very thin sticky back or some kind of an adhesive. It is very strong. Like I say, you crack that chip, you break that thing, and it's pretty much over. One of the things that I'd recommend you doing just right now, unless you're like super familiar with this setup, is you just draw this thing here, so that this is going into the board, and you got one large one and you got one small one. You never want to change that orientation. It probably wouldn't hurt anything, but at least you'll remember exactly where you did it. So there you go, right? All right. So anyway. Time for the heat shrink gun. I've got an X-Acto knife blade with a chisel chip on it, Like I said, this could be reused to remove it probably without doing this. This plastic feels a lot like some kind of a polyester. What'll happen is if it rubs, if there's friction, like if it rubs on something, it will start to melt and start to thread wherever the friction points are. Yeah, I found that out with the other one. So it's a very odd plastic. It's very rigid. I don't really know about its melting temperature, so we'll have to be careful here. This is the first time to actually attempt to do this. What I'm doing here, we'll just go 430. Okay, and we'll wait till it heats up my finger. You have to be really careful doing this. These things get really damn hot. Okay. We'll just warm up the chip, and maybe even warm the front a little bit, and we'll warm the back, because that's really where we're trying to get it off. And I don't want to melt this. I don't want to melt it. I just want to free it a little bit. Just give it a little bit of lubrication there, so to speak, to get it to move, get a little bit of motivation. And I don't want to distort it at all in any way. And I can feel the heat rolling on my fingers over here. And that's good, because that gives me an indication of exactly what's happening here. I don't want to overheat this plastic, and I do not want to deform it or melt it. I just want to free it. And I also don't want to overdo the chip. Okay, we're back. This time I got a real chisel blade. And yes, I do have safety glasses on. I hope this is focusing for you. If it's not, please apologize. But anyway, I'm just assuming that this is probably in the range of what we're trying to see here. I'll just keep going around this thing. Now, say you wanted to build one for PLA and one for ABS, you could probably just leave the chip in place. Now, I'll remind you, sometimes when the printer's printing, the damn chip will release from the contacts even for a second, and that printer will stop on a dime the minute that happens. I'll tell you what. And that was annoying. That happened more than a few times. So I mean, basically all the, like any other proprietary anything, everything that they put in there to protect it or to make it more consistent for you, unless it's so well thought out that it's just common sense. Ah, look at there. Okay, we got that chip lifting up there. I don't feel any real stress on that thing on the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to lift it right off of there. Yes, you can see the gummy material kind of releasing on there. And this is cool, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Okay, so here we are. All right, the chip is out of the socket. And here it is, all right? And I'll show you what we're going to do with that here in a minute. I'll just let this sit over here. All right, time to go cut the case. Okay, let's pause. There we go. We're gonna attempt to get this thing cut. Like I say, I'll try to mute the video when the tool starts, because that'll become just so damn annoying. Watching someone else cut something is like watching someone else, do anything that's annoying. So, nonetheless, here we go. I'm using just a Ryobi hand cutter, a plunge cutter here. Absolutely fantastic tool. Love these things. Got a Ryobi light, shining on the job there, and we have this hand cut tool. So we're just going to start going around. I'm going to bite into the plastic and go. There we go. And once it bites, it's usually a lot better. It just is. Okay, so, if this gets worse, we'll have to employ the nuclear option, which would be the Sawzall. I don't have my hacksaw. Maybe I do have one, but it's electric. All right, let's see what happens here when I attempt to use a coping saw here. All right. Yay! I'm not liking this already. Yeah, screw this. Okay, no coping saw. Okay, I just want to say hats off to all the scientists that worked to perfect the LED bulb for residential use. When you have the old drop lights, I don't know how many of you guys worked on cars when you're in high school or when you get older, and you burnt the hell out of yourself, to make you're in the middle of winter, it's freezing cold, and somehow you drop this thing, the bulb shatters, you get shocked. That was a rare one. Or you get burnt by the back of the case of the bulb. because you'd want a hot bulb in there. But anyway, thanks to those guys that did that. All right, so here we go. Got an old hacksaw blade. I may have to change the blade because it's so damn dull. Now, I don't recommend freehand and hacksaw stuff for most people, but I do have some safety glasses on, so being that I'm older, I wear them now. This is going to be fun. Well, they say the right tool for the job, right? Here's where you want to make sure that you're not anywhere near this. A hacksaw will cut your fingers like butter, of course. There we go. Okay, so now we got the first one done. As you can see, this is the back. That looks very nice. This is going pretty well here. Pretty stinking well. Okay, that blade passed off close to the thumb. All right, again, probably best be done on a bench, but I'm just not that lucky enough of a guy yet to have that kind of stuff. That was my old house. Never mind about that. But anyway, here we go. Let's go ahead and cut that across. Okay, now that blade is awful dull. I mean, I would not recommend that. That you work with sharp tools, Lord. I've just been doing this a long time. A long time. So anyway, here's a tool I've had since high school. It's just an old burr. Kind of make the edges nice. Very nice. There we go. See, now I've got no real burrs going around the edges here. Get rid of all those. Very nice, very nice. All right, so there we are. Now we have the set here, pretty much matched and ready to go. Very nice. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm thinking a pair of scissors is probably the right tool to use for this. And once again, keep in mind that I'm just doing this video raw. I'm not really editing it. I'm not trying to find the smartest way to do something so you can impress all of you how brilliant I am or not. I think we're beyond that now. You know, boy, I tell you what, that filament is absolutely translucent. It's so nice. All right, obviously it must start here because I'm seeing the tape catches there here. Wow, what a lucky guess, eh? Okay, and I think we've run into the same problem that we had with the other one. This filament feels almost the same diameter, if not the same diameter. I have to get a caliper to measure it. All right, I'm going to want to go on ahead, and I'm going to want to cut that part off for sure. Maybe I'll cut it at a little bit of an angle there. And maybe I won't, because I really don't want that thing catching in there. All right, so let's just see what happens when I feed this filament up in here. That's what we're going to do. Now keep in mind, do I want to keep the original PFTE tubing piece on here? You know, it doesn't hurt. I mean, who cares, right? I mean, honestly. So maybe I'll cut a piece of it, and let's just go 5 fingers, right? Like 5 fingers or so, right there. There we go, nice and clean. All right, that might help something. It might not. As you can see, this thing just rams up in there. Maybe it'll keep that feeder in there. There's probably a way to design some way to feed that in there and keep that stuff proportionate so you have absolute consistency as it's moving up into the piece. But there we go. This is just the leftover piece. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there before I start, just so we can. Okay. All right. Now here's the catch. Is this gear going to catch? Is this going to be the right diameter to be able to do this? I can see that the bend in the material has a natural tendency to want to go that way, so I'm probably going to want to follow that just for as a rule of thumb. All right, so here I am. Hopefully I'm on the tape. Again, we're going to turn it counterclockwise. It seemed to grip the material. Goes up through the tube. There we go. Look at that, huh? All right, so far so good. All right. So far so good. Yeah, it's just moving right through there. No problem at all. No problem at all. Let's just keep on moving, keep on trucking, right? All right, I'm going to kind of judge when it's going to enter inside of the head assembly. So I can kind of gauge if it gets caught in there in some strange way, but it doesn't feel like it did. Oh yeah, now I'm up against something pretty tough there. Okay, and so I'm going to turn back off. Now you want to be careful because as this gear turns, like with any filament, even with a normal extruder head, type gearing system, every time it grabs a hold and it cuts into the filament, it can develop a weak spot. And so we want to watch that. We want to watch that really carefully, All right. I'm going to go ahead and get this filament rubbed back on here. Okay, without screwing anything up, hopefully. All right. And let's go on ahead and let's put our case back together. Okay, this is the good thing. Now, there are these two semi-magnetic type pieces of steel. I don't even really know what they're for. They're vibration dampeners. If they sense something inside of the motor, if they assist the motor in having more torque in the case, or any other crazy idea of whatever it is that they do, I don't really know. I'm hoping I'm on film for you here. Okay, I'm going to slowly take this thing off here, and I'm going to reinstall it in the back here and put it in the tube retainer piece right here. Okay, I'm going to turn this around. Well, maybe we'll put those in second, but voila, here we are. So let's get our two bolts that we so neatly held to the side. Let's put them back in. Unless the gearbox goes bad or needs some kind of a deep cleaning, I don't think this part will ever be necessary again. Now, just like with any good rule of thumb, you get the thing started and you get it just a touch in there to where it's just barely firm, Move it around, you want these things to line up just perfect, as much as you can. All right, watch my clumsy hands there. All right. Okay, now we're going to firm them in. And they were pretty tight to take out, so I'm not taking any chances by making them loose. And once again, not only were they part of the piece that retains them in there, I'm going to go ahead. I've got the other slightly larger diameter key. I think I was going to tighten up these other two if I can. Yeah, these are actually a little bit bigger of a thread, which is just kind of crazy, isn't it? Of course, I don't have the right one. Maybe it's this one, maybe it's not, maybe it's not any of those. Okay, I don't want this thing to wind on me. Anyway, here it is. All right, and the second one, like I said, you just have to match these up. Oh man, that thing's tight. That's super tight. No need. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to turn this back around. Now here's the interesting part. Now if these start to get bound up in this thing, just watch out for that. Now here's what's nice, okay? You can see that I'm going to make sure that I'm on camera here. Okay, I'm going to do the check. Yes, okay, all right, well I know where I am. Well, you can see there's two little thin slits in here into this piece of the PFTE tubing, or whatever this tubing is, like Teflon type. They go right on that mount, okay? And you can see this thing here is stable. Here's where it gets good. You see the retainer clips on this piece right here. It fits this thing very tightly. Oh yeah, you don't have to forget about this thing there. Those are those metal things. I printed without them. I don't necessarily know that they're absolutely necessary, but this keeps this tube in line right here, nice and in line. There's a slot here for it here, as you can see, and this thing is lined right up. And this thing will snap right on like that. And look, you've got your clip here that you retain. And you got your clips around the head, and there goes that damn metal thing. You know, do I care? No, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to care, actually, on that. Oh, yeah, there's something that we forgot to talk about. This thing has a piece of plastic around this guide right here. And I don't know if it's to keep the filament on either side, either or whatever. You know what? You do what you want with it. I'm thinking that the best thing to do is just get it out of the way. It's right here. Okay. It would be this tab right here. Okay, there we go. That keeps it out of our way. Again, I don't know if it's best to feed it in this way to where it always comes in from this side or whatever. But there you go. All right, so now we are absolutely rock solid on, okay? This thing is back together again. It's rigid, it's firm, and it seems to be set up. You have full access to the tubing here. You have full access to the material. You might be able to, like I said, make these color changes or whatever. I don't know. Notice that we cut this off, so we have access to this. We have this piece back here that will go back with that chip. This part over here, I mean, heck, you could probably even come all the way in on that, but nonetheless, you know, there it is, kind of symmetrical. Okay, so from front to back, you're right here. Okay. Next, let's set this off to the side. Let's go on ahead and get that chip taken care of. Okay. Once again, we have the chip. As you can see, here you go. Once again, we drew on the back where the chip goes, which way it goes with the big tab and the small tab, so there's no way to screw this up or to get it upside down. Okay? And like I said, you could either leave that chip on there and make a case for PLA, or you can make a case for, but it is kind of a pain to make the case. And you did see me do a color change. I took the old ABS out and put this brand new PETG or PETG on it. PETG. I must be thinking of Peg D from redonkulous.com. Okay, so now we're ready here. Again, we got this. Here's what I'm using. You can use what you want. I used a business card with a laminated business card for the last one. You just want something that's sort of rigid. You know, it's got some kind of a form. This time I'm going to use a piece of plastic that came in one of these press fit packaging material things. Okay, and I'm just going to use it. This is 2 layers, and I don't need it. All right, I'm going to get the paper out of there. Okay, this would be plenty rigid here, and I'm going to go on ahead and boy, I got a nice long angle there where I can actually probably utilize that for one side. Anything I can do to increase the quality of anything I do by just having a machine done one, this is great. You can line the blade up to it, should make it. Okay, do the same thing coming out of it. All right. So here it is. Got us a piece of plastic here. All right. The thing usually still has a little bit of adhesive on the back of it, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a pretty perfectly squared up corner here. Okay. There we go. No biggie. All right, and you're going to want to put this chip on there to where it just goes to the outline of the material. And again, this is how we're going to want to be. Again, from our diagram there on the back, we're going to want that to match. This is how it will interface with the printer. Okay, so I roll that off the back, and I can get this thing lined up. And you can line up at the corners. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Let me look on the back of it here. So good, so good. All right, like that. All right, and then from it, I'm going to just come right up against it like that, just cut down. Like that. I probably cut that too short. I could probably give myself a little bit more of a working place there. There we go. All right. Now, you can put a dab of super glue on there, but gosh damn with super glue, don't overdo it. And this is nice because I can bend this tab up and curl it, and I can manipulate it, and I've got control of it in there. What's going to happen here is it's going to be like this. Okay? It's going to be like that. Right? And I can kind of see and square it up to the old square. This part's maybe a touch a little tricky. I don't know. Okay, so here we go. Let's go over to the printer and let's see this plan put into action with our brand new PETG from Micro Center. Life is one big experiment, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Okay, YouTube, here's the Cube 3. As you can see, I've got the open printer slot over here. And as you can see, I'm kind of wanting to stay out of the video. This isn't really about me. I got the light shining on here. I've got my filament. Yeah, and again, you know, you don't want this stuff to unwind on you. You know, you just don't. I want to set this over here, give myself some working room, like that. You know, like I said, this setup isn't ideal. You know, I mean, it just isn't. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Okay, and I'm gonna put this on here like this. There we go. There we go. Okay, now notice that is a nice solid lock. Isn't that great? I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. It's easy to get off. It's easy to get on. You got access to the filament. All right, so let's go ahead and feed the head up here. Okay, I'm touching the fan and it's going boop, boop. I don't really understand why they didn't just come out with tubes that are a normal tube feeding system. You know, that's just the way they are there at the old Cube factory. But once again, what I want to show you is you don't want this thing twisted up as it's coming through here. You just don't want it twisted up. This camera is not focusing well. Sorry, folks. Maybe if I come back in and come back out, maybe it'll refocus on this. Okay, so but anyway, so you can see, and then you just lock it in there. And as you can see on the front of the Cube itself, you can see the printer is ready. Right now, you go into setup, change cartridge, not installed, not installed. Okay, it doesn't think it's installed. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get our chip. Okay, we're going to get our chip. And we are going to, I can just lift this thing back, lift it back just enough to get this chip, well, maybe not, maybe I just pop it off. But I want to get this chip, and I want to get it lined right up on those contact tabs, just absolutely perfectly. It's got to be perfect. I know this is flimsy, and you know, if I'm thinking about it down the road, I'll probably print it like a little 3D chip holder or something like that if I'm going to keep this idea going. At this point, as you can probably imagine, I'm just thinking, you know, how nice it would have been just to leave the damn thing alone. Okay. All right, so get this thing completely centered on there. Did I get it? Not installed, not installed. Okay, hold on. There we go. Haha. Okay, now push it in there for good measure. Kind of move it around to make sure it isn't going to jimmy on you. All right, so now. Okay, YouTube, we're back here. The camera ran out of memory like shabam. All right, so anyway, we've got our, our PETG filament here. Okay, you can tell by the front of the Cube here, and I don't know if this camera even has enough resolution to see this, but this says what? It says ABS 90%, and due to the wonderful firmware hack, which I will leave, a link to. And also, if you want to send the guy a couple of bucks for being a damn genius and saving us, from having to just throw away this beautiful printer, let's see if I can get this focused. Have time, then send him a couple of bucks for crying out loud. I sent him $5.90. Everybody, if 100,000 of us did that, the kid would be, really well off. And if you've worked, for me, in the computer industry for the time that I have in my life, you don't mind doing that, because trust me, after the first 10 years, you're still riding high, right? And the next 10 come, and then you're like, oh my God, I've got 15 more to go. Oh, damn. Anyway. So, A while back ago, you know, I thought that the material that the cube plate was made out of was I thought the material that the cube plate was made out of was a ceramic. You know, it's kind of an ingenious thing, but it's kind of not. You know, it's meant to, I guess, allow this thing to be bumped around without destroying the plate or whatever. It's like this. I don't know, but I put mine in the toaster oven, you know, to warm it up. I got distracted, which is not unusual, and I went away, and sure enough, this plastic is very brittle, but it also shrinks, as you can see. I've destroyed my print plate, and I probably need to calibrate, but that ain't happening. I'll have to order a new print plate, or I'll have to invent a new surface material for this one. You know, I was thinking maybe, you know, a cutting board, or maybe some kind of a piece of aluminum at Home Depot, or some other, you know, ingenious hack, or not so ingenious hack. I also have a backup one that I fixed when it broke before. I use the good old Elmer's glue here for the glue down. It's nice when it's dry, it's white. You know, I've used other brands, but they just don't seem to have the exact tack, even if they have the same, you know, basic style, whatever. Yeah, there we go, just down there. Okay. I did warm up the plate just a touch. You know, whatever. But nonetheless, there it is. So, we've got this on the plate. We've got the material installed. I haven't invented, like I said, this is just to get this up on YouTube, and I could prepare forever to do anything. But I've learned that, you know, life is a balance between perfection and hacking, and you know, kind of like that. So I'm going to move this over. Yeah, if you guys can see the in the background, I've got an old gratuitous Sansui speaker from the 60s. Yeah, I you know, not trying to date myself, but I love that stuff. Okay, so anyway, so we've got the cube going here. We've got the new material. All right, what we're going to want to do as a first test, all right, is go into our new cartridge installed. Go into setup, cartridge status. Yeah, we're going to auto level. No, because my plate will not auto level. Purge jets. Yes. One, and select. Okay. So here we go. Here's where the rubber meets the road. Okay, it's going to heat up in the purge process. As you can see, I'm going to try to come up here a little bit so maybe you can see. I don't even know if this thing's focusing enough. This camera is kind of an old one. I'll just leave it at that. So right now it's preparing to purge. Okay, see the plate is almost dry with the glue. And there we go. I'll let that heat up. I'll pause this until it gets heated up. When this thing works, if this works at all, when it feeds this material forward, the gearbox should pick it up and push it through the extruder, and it should leave a stream coming down out of the cube as it purges. So we'll let it heat up and we'll get back. Okay, we're getting here probably closer to the zone where the rubber meets the road. I can see. You can't see this, but I can see just a little drip of maybe the hot old ABS from the purge piece. It looks like it's heating up. This is a good sign. We'll see. You know, this is me trying to do basically a material change without, you know, opening the head up, releasing it, whatever. So this is probably, I don't know, maybe it's got a 78 to 86% chance of succeeding. I don't know. But when it's ready, it will kick the gearbox in, and you'll hear it try to drive forward the filament here. This new, wonderful PETG. So anyway, here we go. It's getting close, I'm sure. I'm going to print, just while we're waiting here, I'm going to print a old cell phone bracket. Okay, look, and I was loving this thing. Okay, I've got a Lexus, and I printed this cell phone bracket. It's so custom. You know, held the phone up just perfectly in the only spot because there's just hardly any room in the Lexus. You know, I was so proud of this thing. I popped my cell phone in there when I come in, and, you know, it helped me with Google Maps or whatever I was doing, you know, and I never text and drive, so just so you know. But anyway, so I'm so proud of this cell phone holder. And sure enough, being it's PLA, you know, it's summertime, beginning of summer, maybe midsummer, early summer. I go out there and the thing's drooped over, and I'm like, oh my god, it just rubberized. It just lost its crystallization or whatever, and it just turned into mush. It didn't, you know, it's just one of those things. You know, you here you think you're on the peak of technology, and sure enough, you know, the plastic isn't able to stand up in the car. Well, you know, the ABS is possibly able to do it. Printing something that's big on the cube also, just for FYI, usually causes it to curl up. ABS seems to be very, very good at contracting, and not uniformly. Something kind of a thickness, you know, width piece or whatever. So, okay, here we go. So I've been waiting and waiting for this thing to heat up to purge, and it's not making any different sounds. It does have a cartridge, so I have no idea what's going on. Okay, YouTube. So here's a long story short. The first time that I put it in there, it said waiting to purge and purge, and nothing really came out. And I'm like, oh man, this isn't going to be good. This isn't going to be good. Anyway, so what I did was, while it was just starting its cool down process, I pulled off the cartridge off to the side, and I drove the gear counterclockwise to feed the material up and made it nice and tight, put it back in and did it again, and sure enough, look at that. Okay, so what happened was when I did the color change, quote unquote, I left the old material in the printer. It had enough gray left in the tube, so maybe you have to disassemble it every time. We might be able to go through this procedure. It left enough gray in the tube, as you can see when it broke off, when I thought it was a clean thing, to where there wasn't any pressure up against it, and then this gray came out. Okay, that was just from the pressure that I put back on the new cartridge by hand rotating it and sticking it back in. All right, and then sure enough, looky there, there's our new filament joined right there with the ABS, and you can see the blue, and I'm telling you, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay, all right then. So, you know, hey, that's exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this new filament. There it is, a PETG. And oh, she's stretchy. Okay, there we go. So there it is. The world's first, well, not the first, but the PETG joined with the ABS at a melt point. Nonetheless, there we go. So the second time was a charm. All right, and we're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna print a job. Okay, now this is a pretty big job. So here's my cell phone holder I was bragging about, you know, at the first of the year there. Once again, you know, we're gonna print this with a this PETG. It's gonna be translucent blue. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna work, right? Right? Anyway, here we go. Okay, as you can see, we're in the final stages of heating here. We're on the last click. You know, I'm seeing what I want to see, and that's just a little bit of PLA running out of the nozzle. A little bit of, or not PLA, a little bit of the PETG running out of the nozzle over there. So, you know, I don't get my hopes up too much. Yeah, that's just me. You know, I'm very, very curb your enthusiasm kind of person here. So we'll see. This is it. The moment of truth, the climax of this video. Anyway, I won't be silly. My kids will make fun of me. Okay, I'm hearing it turn, and I'm watching some material spit out. And okay, it turned the corner without pulling it. It's laying it down. Okay, and layer 2. Okay, so far so good. It actually looks really good. It's smushing just enough out. Looks like it's melting and holding up to the melt temperature. Okay, we'll see if it's stringy. We'll see whatever happens here. Okay, but boy, it sure looks like it's laying it down pretty nice here. Let me get that layer down. I did print a sidewalk on this one. It recommended it, and I usually don't like to do that, but you know, when you're dealing with something like this, you know, it's an unknown thing. Putting a sidewalk on there won't hurt, and then I would know immediately that something was wrong with the sidewalk. But we'll see. We'll see if it's actually laying material down, if it's flattening it, or if it's just coming out in like round spools. But again, it seems to be sticking to the print plate. So far so good. So let's let this job get underway a little bit here, and then we will be getting back with you. All right, so we're about 30 minutes into this. 4 hours and 32 minutes left. I just wanted you guys to see that it's flowing. Now this material is a little stringier than seems to be PLA or ABS. It could probably be drawn into a very, very thin thread, but it seems to be laying down nicely. It's not goobering up. It's got a nice crosshatch. I'm thinking it's a little tubey just by looking at it, but I just can't seem to tell. So I'm going to look up on top of the platter here, and you can see we're laying down the design, and we're laying down these sidewalks pretty good, and it's looking pretty good. I did have one mishap. my material holder. I didn't really think that through real well, and the damn thing fell down to the ground. You know, and probably put some stress on that gear over there, but it didn't stop the print job. It didn't stop the flow of material. Again, not to make you dizzy here, but there it is. It's laying it down pretty nicely. It's probably not the optimal temperature, but we'll see. I mean, the only way we're going to know is if it's got rigidity, if it doesn't break apart, if it's not tubular after we get done with the print. So we'll just let it go. The room temperature here, we set around the printer is 19.4 Celsius, about 67 degrees. It's a little cool in here today, 71, 60, it's about 70 degrees. Inside the print area there, it looks like about 100 degrees, 119 degrees Fahrenheit. So we can get the platter there, I don't know, 96 degrees, and then roughly around, I don't know, 36 degrees Fahrenheit there. Alright. And you can see I had to salvage myself to show you what this is such a hack, and of course this will get much more sophisticated later, but I had to design some kind of a print spool holder. The thing did hit the floor, picked up a little dust. This material is very tacky to dust. It seems to be not statically charged, but it seems to cling to it, so I had to kind of brush off any dust that I could get off of there, because you sure don't want that going through the print head. But there you go. So holding up well, it's laying the material down. We'll check back in an hour or so and see how she's doing. Okay, we're well into this print job. Look at that, it's coming out very nice, this piece. We got an hour and 36 minutes left to go, and this piece is coming together nicely. Let's see if we can take a look up here. Look at that, here we go, see a little better focus. There we go. You know what, I've got a couple of boogers on here. With the okay, hold on. Yeah, we can see that we've got, maybe a little bit of lifting off of the street, and I'm glad I printed one on this one here, or the sidewalk, and it's got a few boogers on it. I mean, I don't know if it's any more or less than PLA or ABS would be. Boy, this stuff does string fine and comes out very fine. But anyway, we'll keep you posted here. This is pretty exciting. I mean, to see it print this well, just on a whim, first job is just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm excited to see what it's going to turn out like. Okay, everybody in YouTube land, this thing's turning out freaking nice. I mean, I was a little bit worried when it was printing the base, but that was a lot of spans. But this thing's turning out just damn nice. Let's see if I can get this focus. It's kind of hard sometimes with this video camera here. Okay, there we go. Okay, look at that. It looks, this PETG plastic, it almost looks like glass. I mean, it's just so pretty. It is. This is turning out phenomenal. I'm so glad I did this with you guys. Sometimes you take risks and it pays off. But, I was worried about it first, the laydown temperature and everything else, but it looks solid. It's not stringy. It's got a couple of boogers on it, but not anything out of this world. Just looks phenomenal. I wanted to show you the reality of it. This is the piece that got melted in the car. Look at it. It's faded. It looked just about as nice as that as far as its structure when it was started. But look at it. The sun's bleached it. The heat's warped it. It became unusable. Then it broke off here at its weak point on one of the spans. And then it was unusable. I'm so excited to get this part back. I just can't tell you. There you go. I'll put this back up here one more time so you can see. Look at that thing. Okay, we'll get it out in a minute. There's my new cell phone holder. And look at this thing. It's just absolutely just gorgeous. It's plastic. Right? PETG for microsphere. Look, it's got a sheen to it. I want you to see. Let's test it and see how rigid it is. Okay. That's strong. That's strong. It actually, if you want to know the truth, it actually curled less than when it was when I used the PLA. I mean, honestly, I remember it curling up. Well, I guess there's the old test the strength of the print job, drop on the ground. But anyway, it actually looks better than my PLA because it definitely does. But look at this. This stuff's translucent. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's just beautiful. Now you can see it's got some boogers in it. This plastic, I mean, it almost looks like dryer fuzz or some kind of a twine that unraveled. This stuff pulls so thin, just like a pop bottle, you know. Comes right off though. But look, all the lines and seams, you know, look at that. They're very, very clean. The sides are clean. I mean, this thing has got a strength to it. Look at that. It's just so strong. I mean, isn't that beautiful? So here we go. I'll print the bracket. We'll get this thing together. But there you go. Here is the filament that was used. This is the Inland for Micro Center. $24.99. SKU 536037. PETG blue filament. Right there. One more thing. The Woohoo. This is like a PS on the Woohoo. Look how easy the sidewalk comes off. This is printing with the Elmer's glue stick. Turns purple. Purple turns white when it dries. Just came out just nice as it can be. You know, after I washed that off. Look how it just lifted right off the print pad that I've destroyed. Anyway, I just want you to see that. And here the sidewalk comes right off the print. Look at that. Just clean as a whistle. And the actual sidewalk layers are pretty good. Look at that. Very little cleanup. Look at that though. Isn't that nice? Very, very little cleanup. What a strong part. So anyway, just so you guys know, this part was modeled using MOI, Moment of Inspiration. This part, I think I drew this thing probably in an hour or 30 minutes, maybe less. I don't know. It was super fast. I mean, this is the most powerful program when it comes to doing these kind of things. You know, you basically build the design and just extrude it over and carve out, you know, I carved out the middle to leave the back open. There's no need to print the back on there. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. When you're done with that, you know, you can bring it up in as an STL. You know, Microsoft's 3D Builder. I mean, you open the file in there. This is kind of a neat thing for amateurs like me. And when you're dealing with the Cube software, where you can't really use your own slicer, you know, you can't really use anything like that. You can load up. You can load up. You know, you can load up an STL, right? And then import the model. And if the model has things, this is what's so nice about 3D Builder. I mean, it absolutely will fix a lot of loose ends. It will clean up your model for you. That's a huge deal, you know. And then, you know, you can select the object, and you can do a couple things over here. This isn't a demo on this software. I just want to give you an overview. But in the object, you can settle, you know, which is nice because it will settle it for you on the print bed, and you can mirror it if you want to mirror it. That's absolutely phenomenal to be able to create one STL and do the mirror without having to import a second one and process it. You know, it's just absolutely phenomenal. When you save it, you have to do a save as, and you have to pick STL. I mean, you know, it'll warn you that you're going to override it or whatever. You know, then when you're done there, if you need to add supports, you know, bring up the Meshmixer. I mean, this product's phenomenal too. I mean, you know, make sure you donate to these guys if you get a chance. But you know, you bring up Meshmixer. You know, you bring up your bring up your design here, and you can add supports to it. You just go over here, you know, to analysis. Actually, this thing is really glaring on here. Sorry, everybody. I'm not a professional YouTube video maker by any means. You can go over here to the analysis, and you can go on ahead and take a look at the overhangs, you know, and it will add supports to you. I mean, and you can adjust these things, all these presets on the support. You can do the custom settings. can do the advanced support, and you can pick, basically all the thresholds and everything else. You generate supports, and if you want to, it will generate little supports for you. This is fan. Then save that STL and then send that right on over to Cube 3 for printing. So these two products, I never would have been able to do that without these two. Printing an STL that isn't processed and fixed. Microsoft, thank you so much for all the hell you've put us through for the years with some of the other products. Giving us the 3D builder for free was just absolutely phenomenal. So anyway, that's all I have to share, and thank you very much. Give me a thumbs up. And there's the bracket. Look at that beauty. PETG printed on the Cube 3. Again, here's the printer hack. Oh, how nice. PETG, job finished successfully. Alright, let's put this thing together.